Hello, everyone. Thank you a lot for being present today for our meetup. I'll be very happy to talk about data with you. So, just to give you some background about me, the founder of a startup called DatAtlas. I'm originally doing a lot of data and AI since maybe 6 or 5 years ago. I am based in a city called Grenoble in France. So if you are familiar with the city, I'm putting on the screen my LinkedIn, my email if you want to reach out to me, and I'm gonna put them on chat later as well. So to begin with, I'm gonna begin with a very, very small quiz. It's gonna be about 2 questions. I'm gonna copy this link and put it on chat. Tac. So you can all answer the question. Maybe I'm gonna start with some background about me. I used to be a data scientist in the past, maybe for about 3 years, in a telco company which is called Orange, which is maybe the leading telco company in Europe. So, when you are a data scientist, you are supposed to do a lot of algorithms, a lot of machine learning to make predictions or to predict something which is valuable for the business and to take some insights from the value of data. But actually, this is not the scenario that was happening. What's happening is I used to spend maybe up to 80% of my time only collecting the data I need and pulling the data I need and preparing this data to do the data science. So finally, I just had maybe less than 20% of my time for 20 for data science and machine learning, which was not really enough for getting the value I can get from data. And this is very reasonable because whenever you are a data scientist or data analyst, you can have to pull and to collect the data from different sources. You can, for example, have to pull data from, let's say, MongoDB, Elasticsearch, Oracle, SQL Server, APIs, files.
Meryem, I muted you for a second. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Sure. Can you hear me right now?
Yes, please continue.
Perfect. So what I was saying is, at the end of the day, pulling data and collecting data, it's not really about only doing some scripts in Python or SQL to query the data you need. No, it's really beyond than this, because there it's really multi-type, multi-format. You can have different sources, and every source has its own particularities. Pulling data from Oracle, it's not the same thing than pulling data from SQL Server or other sources. And you have to pull data to collect this data without putting impact and the data sources and the databases. You have to be very, very careful about the systems that you have already. So finally, collecting data, it's not only about writing ETL, ELT jobs, but it's really about making data pipelines secure, integrated to your systems, normalize all the data you have, orchestrate all the data platform you build, maybe provision a lot of hardware, a lot of resources. So finally, these are really huge projects. And maybe this is what explains the statistics from Accenture that say that maybe only 30% of companies are finally able to make some value from data, because those projects are not really the most successful ones, actually. So all this story finally led me to create DatAtlas with my collaborators. So at the end of the day, DatAtlas is this no-code platform to deliver data from a point A to a point B. So that can be delivered data from databases, APIs, files, whatever it is. In general, the idea is to make you go faster into your main job, into data science, into machine learning, into analytics, and not really put time into this ETL, ELT, or data pipelines. This is the global idea. It's to make you go faster into your main mission in data. Actually, what's happened in the past, for me at least, is I used already a lot of other data integration software in the market. maybe I can give some examples of 5 tron airbyte stage talent. Really, you have a lot of companies right there. But in every project we had some particular issues with the software we had in the company. I mean, for example, I was working for CDN teams. CDNs, these are the content delivery network servers that many telco companies have. In CDNs, for example, we used to have a lot of data. We used to have gigabytes of data per second. And the majority of their integration software providers that we had some limitation throughput of 100 megabyte per second or so. So we had really we were very, very limited in terms of scalability of data volumes. Another issue, another major one that we had all time was about the real-time synchronization. I mean, everybody right now says that he's doing machine learning and AI, but really very, very few people are able to do this in real time. Also for data analytics. I mean, the idea behind this is, for example, imagine you are data scientist, you have already developed an algorithm to do some machine learning, but maybe this algorithm should be updated and retrained with new data, with real-time data. I mean, this is what's happening for Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. All those algorithms are updating your algorithms where real-time data really is synchronized in each time that you make some actions. So we had a lot of projects like this where we needed real-time data. I mean, we needed to collect real-time data from many sources. And here again, we found absolutely no data integration software that was capable to help us. I mean, we had a lot of difficulties also in security and on-premise offering because many data integration tools are like the intermediate between your source of data and your destination of data. I mean, for example, if you want to move data from Oracle, let's say to BigQuery, you have to move it to this provider, and this provider gonna move it for you to destination, which is again a big issue for security, at least for us in Europe with the GDPR, but also in other countries as well. Maybe one final idea, which is our observation was that the majority of providers were doing only ELT and not really ETL. So all the transformation processes was let into the end, into the data warehouse or the data lake. And that was very problematic because if you are delivering 100% of your data to your data warehouse, you're gonna find out that you have very, very messy data, very unorganized data, very unprepared and immature data. So we would prefer if we had some pre-processing features and capabilities before moving there to the warehouse. Um, Maybe Omid, we have a question. I can hear someone talking.
I know it's just me muting people.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on. What's happening is when I sit down with my friends that were also data scientists, analysts, and I mean data engineers as well, what we would imagine is to make accessible the data to all teams across the company, to make them access data in real time as soon as it arrives to environments, to databases, to make them spend no more time in moving the data, in doing the ETL scripts, in doing really these pipelines. And for your information, when we have interviewed people, and mainly the data engineers, they say to us that doing data pipelines, doing ETL, ELT, it's not really the most amazing part that they would love to do. I mean, those people are more interested in doing the infrastructure, securing the network, and doing more core mission and your infrastructure more than doing just ETL pipelines. I mean, so finally, if I just give some examples again, what's happening is you can hear a lot of people talking about different architectures. I mean, some people just trust the modern data stack. Some other people have data fabric or data mesh architectures. But the idea for me is the same. The idea is to make data accessible by teams in your company. So maybe you can put this data in a data warehouse or data lake. Maybe you can put it also in a Kafka messaging bus or other type of software. It doesn't matter. But the idea is to put your data available somewhere. And again, this is DatAtlas that can play this intermediate role between your data sources and your destination. I mean, in your company, you can have databases, SAP, Salesforce, Oracle, applications, JSON, Excel files, CSV files. You can have plenty of different data sources. The idea is still is the same. It's to collect all this data in real time at scale to your destination. And the final goal is very obvious, is to make access to data to your BI teams, to your machine learning teams, to your developers as well, to develop new applications on top of your data. Here I'm going to move to more concrete part of my presentation. I mean, I would love to show you how DLLs work. So about our solution, what we did is a very different architecture than we used to have with other providers. So what we did is our product, it's based on two major components. The first component, it's what we call the control plane or the interface. And this is the interface where you can do the drag and drop between your source of data, your destination of data. Um, I'm sorry, there's a problem? No? Okay,
I
perfect.
just muted someone, sorry.
Thank you. Perfect, Amit. Thank you a lot. So I was saying that it is about a control interface. The first part, it is about the control interface, the visual interface where you can drag and drop your source of data, your destination of data. For example, you can have, for example, a MongoDB database that you want to sync with a data warehouse or with an Elasticsearch or else. You can have different topologies of syncing data. I mean, you can have one source to multiple destinations, as you can have multi sources with one destination. It doesn't matter. It is very flexible to all your possible topologies. So once you have chosen your configuration, your data pipeline, we're gonna provide you with what we call the agent. The agent is a binary code that it is already compiled that you're going to be installing in your own environment. And this is the agent that's going to be doing the work of delivering data from A to B, from the source to destination. To give you an example, here, for example, let's say you have some customers data in a SQL Server database, and you want to move this data in real time to, let's say, a Snowflake, for example. The final objective is to make some, let's say, some real-time KPIs, some real-time dashboards about your business. So for example, the SQL Server, it can be any cloud or on-premise environment. It can be also any VPC environment. Once you have chosen your configuration and the platform, we can give you the agent. This agent, you can be installing it in a Docker image, in a Kubernetes, in a virtual machine, in a server, a physical server. It doesn't really matter. And this agent is going to be pulling data directly from your own source, so SQL Server, to your destination. They're going to be your data warehouse. So for example, Snowflake. And all the idea is it's really very, very secure. It's end-to-end secure pipeline because we as DatAtlas, we do not know, we have no idea about which data you are delivering. It's only the agent that you are installing in your own environment that can really do the work. And you have complete control on the agent, and you can have really the monitoring and debugging. You can debug the agent as well. I mean, you can see all the messages. You can, for example, have errors if the destination it isn't available, and you can really debug it yourself. You can also monitor all the traffic. You can see how many data you have in input and output, and figure out where there is any errors. You can also monitor the CPU and memory usage of the agent in your own environment to make sure that you are not really impacting your own sources or your own environment. So finally, to make it short, in DatAtlas, we've been going through three big principles. The first one that was, at least for me, the very, very major one was about real time. we wanted data to be, as soon as it arrives to the source, it should be already replicated destination. I mean, the latency that we have today is about microseconds actually. So it's really it's really nothing about um, the the um, the lag. I mean, this is the first thing. Second principle that we had all time, it is about scalability. Today, we are able to deliver up to terabytes of data per hour, which is about gigabytes of data per second. And it is thanks to our distributed architecture. I mean, DatAtlas, it's both horizontally and vertically scalable. It scales in both ways. And this is very important because the agent should be capable to scale wherever you have more traffic of data, more volumes of data. Maybe to make it just brief,
Meryem,
please tell me.
please note someone raised their hand for a question.
Sure,
Akin.
sure.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
please go ahead.
yeah. So you told like there is an agent, right? Data Atlas agent. Does it handle the transformations like if we are moving the data from source to destination, and if we need little bit of data type changes or some kind of transformation, will it handle those things?
Yes, sure. So we give you the option to pre-process the data before transferring it. So for example, let's come back to my slide right here. You can have, for example, a SQL Server and an agent to transfer data from SQL Server to your destination. You can configure the agent to do some pre-processing in the source level. You can, for example, inject some SQL queries or whatever in the agent to do some pre-processing, some transformations on the data before making it accessible in the destination. And what's amazing, it's the agent. He's going to be doing this in real time. For example, you can configure the agent to do some aggregations, for example, each second or each, 30 milliseconds or so. You have complete control and pre-processing the data before making it accessible on destination. Does it answer your question?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Perfect. Great. Does anyone else have any other question? Maybe not. Actually, this is the finishing of my slides. I just was about talking about security. Actually, we have made it in this way. We have made it. We have separated the control plane from the agent plane because we believe that this is the only way that you can make secure data pipelines. This is the only way that we cannot really have visibility in your own data. It's only, again, it's only the agent that can be capable to deliver the data. And this is an agent that is installed in your own environment. It is not on cloud. It is really in your own VPC or cloud or whatever that you already have. And for me, this is the only way that you can make sure that your data is not really shared with other third parties. This is, again, the end of my presentation, and this is the link for the demonstration. For the demo, I'm gonna just put the link on the chat. So to make you access it whenever you'd like to. It's on the internet, so you can just watch it.
Make sure you send a message to everybody. You are
Yes.
sending it in the waiting room so nobody can see it.
So here I just put in everyone on chat, and I've just sent a message. Can you just confirm if you have already received it?
I reshared it on the chat.
Perfect. Thanks
Right.
a lot. Thank you. Thank you. This is great. So please, you just feel free to ask me whatever questions can you have. And if you want, I can come back to some slides also.
Guys, now is the time to unmute yourself and ask questions if you like.
Sure.
I have a question. So you mentioned that you guys handle security as well. Like, may I know, like, is it part of like any encryption or decryption you guys are having in your modules?
Sure. So to answer your question, I'm going to come back to this slide, to this presentation. Actually, you have the capacity to configure the agent, for example, to encrypt your data. many clients would love to, for example, send to a data warehouse a data which is already encrypted. So you have the feature to encrypt the data and to decrypt it as well. This is up to your choices and up to your policy as well. So to answer your question, yes, you can have the possibility to encrypt data. I can see a lot of questions on chat, so I'm gonna begin to answer them one by one. So the first one, it's from Nancy. She said, can you please explain a bit more about what is the controller plane and user plane or other types of plane used there? Okay, thank you, Nancy. So to make it short, we have two different planes. The first plane is the control plane, which is the graphic interface where you can do drag and drop and choose your source of data and your destination of data. It's only about doing the configuration. I mean, for example, you can choose to pull data from MongoDB to BigQuery. So you're gonna choose MongoDB and BigQuery, and that's it. And the other plane, it's the data plane, and this is the agent. So we have only two planes. It is about the control plane and the data plane, which is the agent. So the agent, it is always in your environment. This should be in your own environment to keep the security of your data. And the control plane, you have to choose, you can choose to keep it on cloud. So to choose to, I mean, this can be in the DatAtlas cloud, and you can access it from our cloud, or you can also choose to host it in your own cloud as well, or your own data center or whatever. So if you can confirm if this is answering your question. Okay, maybe I can move to the next one. It is from Marwan. So I'm sorry, I'm gonna come back. Marwan, you said, can you speak more about real-time integration, please? Perfect. So the real-time integration, the basics are very simple. For example, I just want you to know that if you choose, for example, to sync data from SQL Server to Snowflake, whenever there is an update, a delete, an insert of data in your SQL Server source of data, this is going to be automatically replicated into your destination. I mean by real time, every operation happening in your source of data. And we are doing this with a mechanism called log-based CDC. So we as DatAtlas, we give you an agent that do the work of real-time replication. This agent is going to be reading the binary log, the transaction log that you have in your own database. So we are not impacting at all your databases. We are not impacting at all the performance of your databases. We are only reading the metadata, the transaction logs or the binary logs, I mean the metadata of your database to be capable to do real-time replication from the source to the destination. So maybe I can move to the next question, which is from Sanal. So you said, hey, Meryem, great presentation, thanks a lot. I am wondering, how do you differentiate from Fivetran or Matillion? Thank you, Sanal, this is a great question. So about the difference between Fivetran and Matillion, this is very simple. So to answer your question, I'm gonna come back to my slide right here. The difference is in these 5 points: in scalability, security, the on-premise offering, the real-time synchronization, and the data pre-processing. For example, Fivetran or Matillion are only capable to do ELT and not really both ETL and ELT. This is one point. Second point, they are not really capable to do real-time replication of data. And originally, for example, Fivetran, it was made for pulling data from APIs and not really from databases. I mean, they have no log-based CDC. They are not really capable to read data in real time from your databases without putting an impact on your own databases. Third point, it is about security. I mean, if you are, for example, using Fivetran to move data from SQL Server to Snowflake, you're gonna move it first to Fivetran, and Fivetran gonna move it later to your to your destination. So all the data you are sharing it with a third party, and this is really something which is forbidden in many countries, like in Europe with GDPR. So maybe the last point it is about scalability, and maybe this is the major point of difference. And this is thanks to the architecture. The major difference is in the architecture. As I said, we separated the control plane from the data plane. And you're gonna be delivering data using the agents, and the agents themselves, they are very, very scalable. They scale both horizontally and vertically with your traffic of data. And for me, these are all the differences. And you can just please ask any other questions you have about this. So maybe I'm gonna move to the rest of questions. This time is from Akil. He said, how is the notification process happening if it falls while agent is migrating? This is a great question as well. So as I said before, you can have the interface of monitoring and debugging the agent. From one hand, you can have all statistics, real-time statistics, real-time dashboards about the job of the agent, about how many data it's transferring, how many data it's really being transferred. And the second thing is the debugging interface. You can debug the agent. You can see whenever there is an error, whenever there is something going wrong, you can just see the messages sent by the agent. The agent is delivering the data you need, but it is also giving you real-time metadata about the agent itself. So whenever there is a message, you can see it on the screen as well. You can just debug it yourself without calling the support or else. So maybe I can move to another question. This time it's from Rodrigo. Yes. So the first one is, how does it integrate with open source solutions as Open Lineage or open source catalog? This is a great question as well. So far, we have no integration yet with a data cataloging solution, but we're gonna have a partnership with some solutions of data cataloging. So in the future in the future versions of DLS, you can have the capacity to choose to whatever catalog you are familiar with and add it to your data pipelines. It's gonna be a user choice at the end of the day. The second question it is about, can you maintain the pipelines in Git background? You want to have all infrastructure information in our Git. Actually, I'm not sure if this is going to be possible in the Atlas because, and remember, we are making it an end-to-end secure pipeline. So the agent is going to work even if there is no internet in your environment. So I do not know what information you can maybe pull to Git, but the only connection that you can have with Git, it's whenever there's an upgrade of the Atlas and you want to upgrade the agent or whatever. But I'm not really sure if I understood your question. If you can just give more details. The
So,
third question for
if I may,
yes, sorry.
so how would you manage the revisioning of your pipelines?
Sure. So whenever there is a new version of the agent, and imagine, for example, you have already a data pipeline that's working, and this is an agent that's already running. You can just keep it running, as you said, and whenever there is a new version, this time you should stop the agent to upgrade because the agent is already installed in your own environment. But the good news is, whenever you upgrade the agent, you can restart the synchronization from t minus something. You can come back in the past and synchronize data from a date from a time that you have already chosen, and this is how it works right now. Unfortunately, we should really have a small time to upgrade the agent because it is already running in your own environment. So I do not know if it is answering your question, Ahmed. Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. So I still have one third question, which is about how is data quality supported? Perfect. Um, the only way we are supporting data quality today is to make the validation between the data you have in the source and destination. So it is about reliability of data. you should be capable to have trust in data you have in destination because it is already very, very similar and already the same data as you have in the source. The second point is, again, we are planning to do partnerships with solutions like maybe I do not want to give any names so far, but we're gonna have some partnerships with solutions that are giving you capabilities to do data quality and data observability, so you can check the quality of your columns, fields of data, whatever it is, maybe in the same time that you are doing data migration and data transferring. I'm just checking if we have any other questions that I didn't see. Um, Please feel free to send any more questions that you can have. So maybe we have a question from Nathan. So it's, hi Meryem, I'm a student and new to ETL. First question is, can you please explain about ETL? And second question is about what is data ETL? So to be very, very brief, ETL, it's extract, transform, and load. So it is collecting data from a source, maybe transform this data before transferring it, and the loading process it's to send data to some destination. ETL, very, very simply, it's to get data from somewhere and send it to somewhere else. People today can choose between doing this in two different ways. The first one is to do ETL in-house, I mean, writing your own scripts to do ETL. But again, doing this, that refers back to my slide here, which is about all the complexities you can have doing this yourself. Because ETL is not only about doing the collect and send process, but it is also about securing and really normalizing all these processes. And the second option is to go and choose a data integration software provider. And this is DatAtlas, as many other providers on the market as well. I hope that is answering your question. And maybe you can have, I'm not sure if you have any other question. Yes, this time it's from Sanjay. And the question is, where did that last worker run? Perfect. This is a very good one as well. So we have made the agent to be very flexible. So you can be running the agent in a virtual machine, in a Docker image, in a Kubernetes, in a physical server. You can choose whatever environment you prefer, and that's gonna depend on your own architecture and your own environment. But the recommendation that we make for everyone is to make the agent as much closer to the source. I mean, if you have your own source in a VPC, in a virtual private cloud, it's preferable to make your agent inside the same VPC to make the security of your exchanges with the database. So, but to answer the question you have asked, the agent is flexible to be running in whatever environment you can have access to. Another question from Sanal. Quick question, when you say agent, are these connectors? Yes, so you can see the Atlas as a marketplace of connectors, and this is the agent that gonna be running this connector. And again, these connectors, they are log-based CDC connectors. So they're gonna be reading the metadata, the transaction logs of your databases to be able to make real-time replication of data. So that was the question of Sanal. Hope it was okay for you. I do not know, Ahmed, if you can see any new questions from your side, because for me, I do not see any questions. Maybe a new one,
Mm.
this time from Sanjay. The question says, in a nutshell, run the service, it will connect log, use the library to get the data in code like Spark. Yes, I understand from the question that maybe you want to have some more ideas about the backend of the solution. So actually, I am an old user of Kafka, Apache Streaming, Spark Streaming, Flink, and many technologies like this one. So for example, technologies like Airbyte or Fivetran, they are based on Debizium, which is an open source software. And in DatAtlas, we have not chosen to be based on an open source technology like the Bezium or else, because these technologies have their own limitations. I mean, for example, the bigger limitations of Debian, for example, it's about scalability. It's not really making scalability easier than you can do. So the question, to answer your question finally, we have made a choice to develop everything from scratch, develop our own scalable architecture from scratch. We have used some open source tools for sure, but not really the very famous ones such as Kafka or Debian or else. We have our own stack, technical stack, um, uh, and this is not really based on Kafka or any similar technology. Maybe if you have any other questions in the future, you just reach out to me via LinkedIn or via email. It's up to you. And I should say thank you to Ahmed and Farid. They did a great work to make this meetup. This is my first time doing this meetup with you, and I think that was very valuable because we had a lot of people asking some interesting questions. So thanks a lot.